Turn it up.
From the YBA Phoenix Fitness 24/7 basketball facility in Rockland, California, it's Coach's Rise time with Coach C. Collins.
Get it started. 3, 2, 1.
Coach's Rise time.
Hey, what's going on? It's Coach C. Collins. This is Coach's Rise time, where I take a little bit of the side and tell you kind of my thoughts and everything going on with basketball and AAU. I give my perspective as a coach. If you appreciate and want to hear it, you let me know. I do appreciate those who've been supporting, man, listening to the main show, About That Life podcast, and then, been supporting the Coach's Rise time when I do that a little bit. I want to try to keep getting you guys some more content. Again, if you're new to this, if you just checked us out, you're scrolling through like, man, let me check out some basketball podcasts. I appreciate it if you're listening to mine. Hit that follow button. We're also on YouTube. You're more than welcome to subscribe, hit that bell, hit a like. Definitely helps with the algorithm and gets our show a little more viewers. If not, don't worry about it. Just listen up. Maybe my perspective might give you some insight and hopefully help you on your basketball journey. So for today's topic, I wanted to talk about rankings in the ranking system. I really feel when it comes to the rankings, and I'm talking about for like 8th grade and below. I mean, shoot, even if you want to go all the way to high school, because some of these ESPN, 5-star, 4-star, 3-star athletes and things like that, what I've realized even more so this year is it's the ranking guys aren't necessarily these guys like much you might believe, especially on the ESPN analysts and stuff, because we kind of think of those guys as like the hierarchy. It's not that they're inaccurate, but there's kind of this misconception that they go to all these high schools and they run all these algorithms and analytical views, and they're going to these colleges and they're sitting in the stands with their phones and their tablets and their computers just overanalyzing, when realistically they're just sitting on a fucking couch like the rest of us, and they're just saying, oh yeah, he's really good, okay, he's as good as we thought he was, and there you go, we're going to rank him number 1, number 2 in the mock draft for the NBA. What really made that prevalent is how Jalen Green didn't even make the top 3 or top 4 in the rankings, because the 2 guys that they have ranked above them, he's better than. If you actually look at the mock draft, he was better than them in their same class in high school, and he played in the G League this past year. So it's conceivable, and I talked about this on episode 22, but it's conceivable that he played tougher competition, played grown men, had relatively good success because his numbers are really solid, but somehow he didn't rank in the top 3 or 4 or top 5, honestly, for the mock draft for the NBA. How is that possible? Because the reality is the G League games aren't televised. If they are, it's like on ESPN 7 or some bullshit like that. But they're not televised. So because of that, he didn't get the looks and the love that he necessarily probably should have got, which sucks. You know what I mean? And because the other 2 did, I can't think of the guards' names, and I apologize for that. I think Suggs is one of them, and I can't remember the other one, but because they had a great year at Gonzaga and things like that, that's what got them the looks. But that shows that the analytic guys aren't necessarily going around looking at the best places or looking for this or that. They're just sitting on the couch like the rest of us, just making opinions based off of what they see right there, eyeballing it. Jalen Green even made a tweet about it, just kind of making it seem like it's all good, don't bother me, it is what it is. If he made a tweet about it, I think it did bother him. But that's the competitive nature of an athlete. I, as a former basketball player, and hoopers all understand, that's just competition, man. That's nothing. We're competitive by nature, especially athletes. So you just can't help it. Not just athletes, but being a black man, and that and is a whole nother intangible where it makes you really competitive. But I want to talk about rankings amongst youth. That to me is what kind of is pretty tough to understand. So I look at it as a two-way sword. It can help and it can hurt, both at the same time. What I mean by that is you have ranking systems that are now going as far as, I believe, 4th and 3rd grade. Whether it be the EBC camps, which I'm a proponent of, and I know the director. I'm actually, I think, probably going to end up working an EBC camp next weekend, which I'm cool with. Like, camp basketball has its relevance. It needs to be there so people can, so kids can see where they are on the totem pole and they can kind of make a name for themselves and some prestige for themselves. But at the same time, it also hurts because you tell a fifth grader or fourth grader, whatever, like, you're the number one fourth grader in the country. And they internalize that. And even though they might say the right thing in front of cameras and stuff, like, well, I'm just really trying to work hard and I'm doing what's best because that's what mom and dad tell them to say. It can give them a false sense of reality. A kid that might be the elite kid in fifth grade, as we all know, and there's story after story after story of this, by the time they're varsity in high school, they might be barely getting off the bench, or, they might be mediocre at best or average, you know what I mean? Because some kids hit their growth spurts earlier than others, and we all know that. We all see, like, oh my God, this 6'8", eighth grader. I mean, that happens, but then they get to the varsity level of high school, guys catch up, it evens out, and they're not as effective. They're not as talented. So, but on the flip side of it, I do think rankings can help motivate. I do believe rankings can help, push your kids. Sorry about that. It can push your kids to be at a stronger level. I do think, they can do a couple of things. The reality is, the best way I could put it to you is, as a coach, you should use the rankings as a system to push your athletes. If you have a high-level team, if you have a really high-level team, you need something to keep motivating them. You know what I mean? You need something that's going to keep pushing them and trying to make them better. And rankings is a good way to do it. It gives them something to aspire to. Let me let you know I dropped a little bit of knowledge right there. So, I mean, but it is a good way to motivate and keep the guys going. On the flip side of it, though, you can't let your kids get a false sense of reality. This conception of this kid is the number one eighth grader in the country. I mean, let's be real. You didn't judge every eighth grader in the country. And I get it for you ranking systems that are out there. If any of you directors listen to my show or listen to this, like, I get it. You make your money. You do what you do, and you do a good program. I mean, Grassroots 365, they have their rankings of teams and all that stuff. You have the B-Ball Hub. They do their rankings. You have, top recruits on IG. IG is a super hub of all these ranking systems. So I ain't mad at it, but you know what I mean? It's to me, it's tough because you want to use it to motivate the kids, but you don't want it to build this false sense of reality where everything's cool. So for this part of the show, I'm going to go on my IG Live, and I'm going to see if anybody wants to call in or has any comments about this, because this is a topic I think that, more people need to talk about. We need to understand, like, okay, are these rankings hurting us? They're helping us? Like, what's going on? So, hopefully we get some answers. Hopefully we'll see what some people got to say, and, we'll stay tuned. But on my whole perspective of it, on my perspective of, of the rankings, I do think it's not overall a bad thing. We're competitive. The nature of basketball and the sport is competitive. And it's on us to kind of find that drive and teach as coaches, like, it's a do or die situation. You have to be the one that's going to make things happen for your team. Do I think we need to be ranking third graders, fourth graders? Probably not so much. Seems a little too much. It's too hard to say, like, there's too many kids, and it's too hard to say who is the best fourth grader in the nation. Like, you don't do a program that's going to have every fourth grader in the nation. So, that's where it gets a little troubling for me. I, as a coach, and I recommend to a lot of you coaches, use these things as motivation. Use these things to inspire your kids. It's always good to give kids, in my opinion, a tangible goal to reach. If they have something they can see, something as clear as a number, it helps them to get and evolve to that point. So, for you guys out there, those coaches who do want to, get your kids out there, get them noticed, send them to camps. I think we had two kids from YBA, Josiah and Max, who are on our 7th grade elite team. They went to the CP3 camp and left a very good impression. They got highlights from Beach City Hoops, so shout out to Beach City Hoops, and it's a good catapult or catalyst to push these kids to get noticed, because the next step is high school, and they need that. They need that that opportunity to be seen. They need that opportunity to shine, because that's the cornerstone of what's going to help them get to the next level. So for those who want to use rankings and the ranking system in the right way, I think it's the best way and the best approach to do it. If you're using rankings to simply give validation, or if it's just simply an ego boost for kids, I don't think you're using it to the best of its ability. As a coach, you got to understand, kids grow and develop at different times. The kid that might be the man in 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade can easily fall off by freshman, sophomore year. If you enforce a culture of false reality, then they're going to hit that wall, and it's going to get to the point where these kids are going to quit. They're not going to want to play anymore. And then the reality is potential has a shelf life. It does expire at some point. So you do have to be very mindful of that when you do these things. So again, if anyone wants to call in or, have their piece about this part, please feel free to do so, or let me know if you want to. But other than that, that's kind of my overall consensus as far as it comes down to rankings. It's just simply, who thinks it's going to work and who doesn't. But with that being said, I appreciate if you took the time to listen. I always will be taking phone calls throughout the shows now. So, if you want to if you want to talk about the topic, if you want to challenge me on the topic, please feel free. I'll also have the links to the Patreon. So for those who kind of been supporting the content, we appreciate it. I appreciate it big time. And if you like what I have to say, even in these small, 8 to 10 to 15 minute shows that I'm doing, or if you want to listen to the big show, About That Life podcast with Mark, please feel free to. I really appreciate the people that have shown support. I've had people come up to me in person. That means way more to me than necessarily, someone just saying like, it's cool or whatever. One thing I've learned, man, doing this, you got being a content creator, being a black content creator. I know I'm on my own. I know I only got a small circle of people that's truly going to put their money where their mouth is and help me out. And for those who've been doing it, I really, really appreciate you. And because I always try to pay it forward and support my brothers and sisters out there as well. For those who are not black and they've been supporting it, I really appreciate you as well, because you being in California, we're trying to be the tip of the spear to show this change and evolution of you got to love your neighbor and fuck all this hate and racial divides and all that stuff. So I do appreciate those who've been doing that. Other than that, I hope everybody has a good evening. It is Friday. What's this? May 14th. So, have a good Friday. Everybody have a good weekend, and I am out.